What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to be checking out the Transformers Legacy Evolution Commander Class Armada Optimus Prime, and Hasbro are not slacking with their commander choice for the year because, I mean, could have they picked a better choice? Armada Prime is a character that we've all wanted to see since that initial prototype, which was shown way back during the 2019 festival, and this thing is sick. Now, I know you guys know that I grew up during kind of the Michael Bay Transformers Prime era, so literally completely missed the boat on Armada entirely. So I think it's also sweet to see them revisit some of these awesome 2002 redesigns and bring them into the main line to give us, you know, maybe the best version of the toy that we've ever seen. And whilst this guy is awesome, I think what he kind of hints at is slightly more exciting, which we'll get into throughout the video. So here we have him in both his truck and trailer mode. You know, this is what it looks like from a side perspective, and a lot better proportioned, I think, when compared to the Motormaster that we saw last year. And this thing is just a unit. I mean, it kind of reminds me of some of the pre-Age of Extinction toys. You know, the core Optimus in himself feels greater, feels heftier than some of the past Commander standalone figures such as Rodimus or Motormaster. So yeah, very promising. Now, as we take a look here at the trailer, as you can see, very nicely detailed. You know, this is just such a great update. Unlike some of the Prime characters, they've stayed pretty truthful. You know, it's an almost one-to-one recreation of the old design. This is what it looks like from the back, but as we come here to the underside, there are a few Easter eggs which, you know, may or may not lead anywhere in the future, and it's that at the rear of the trailer we do get this massive port which you don't use during the trailer, the base, or the super mode. And if you cast your minds back to the original 2002 toy, it was compatible with the then 2003 Overload. So, you know what, Hasbro may be hinting that in the future we could see a Commander Overload. I guess only time will tell, and there's also a few additional Easter eggs in the super mode to kind of back that up. But yeah, very exciting times ahead. Now, if you don't have this attached to Optimus, you can take kind of the shin cannons that we'll see in the super mode and just flip them down. They kind of act as supports, or I guess you could say the kickstand, so that's pretty sweet. But as we bring in the big guns, here we have Armada Optimus Prime, and it's quite surreal to actually have this guy in hand, because for the longest time I was looking at that prototype that was shown off all those years ago. So really great to get this. As you can see, wicked detailings here for the front. I like the silver on the hood, you know, the transparent plastic, a great throwback to that original 2002 toy. And from the side, I will say that the kind of rear of the trailer looks a little too long, but once you smack the trailer on, it doesn't look too bad, and it maybe would have been cool had they added some kind of gap filler to cover up the super mode hands. But again, you know, with the trailer, you're really not going to notice it. So yeah, amazing looking truck mode, you know, awesome to see an Optimus in the main line, which isn't that kind of traditional G1 flat-nosed truck, and like I said before, rolls like an absolute dream. Now, as we get stuck into a few comparisons, we have Armada Optimus Prime alongside the classic G1 Earthrise Prime, so there's quite a big difference in terms of the length. You know, like I said, this thing is a beast, especially in the kind of trailer bed department, and here is how they stack up from the front. Here he is alongside the G2 Legacy Laser Optimus Prime, and I'd say in terms of length, these guys are roughly exactly the same for those of you kind of asking for a sense of scale. So yeah, pretty decent size for a truck. But probably one of the geek out comparisons would be alongside the Armada Hotshot, which truly was just kind of a teaser, a taste of what Hasbro had in store for us for some of these legacy figures, because these two look so great together. And you know, before the year is out, we know we're going to see Armada Megatron, so we already have quite a cool kind of sub-team of Armada characters. We've got Hotshot, Prime, Megatron, and Starscream. I wonder who we're going to kind of round 2024 off next year, as if some of those teasers are valid in the trailer and in the rest of the figure, maybe we could see a Jetfire, maybe we could see an Overload. I guess only time's going to tell. And for another Armada one, why not? Here we have him alongside the Voyager class Starscream. So definitely pretty decent size in terms of a truck, and just in terms of which one weighs more, no competition at all. You guys really won't appreciate how hefty this is until you actually have it in hand, because it's way more substantial than some of the more recent figures, of which are in a similar size to it. But yeah, they look really cool next to each other. And rounding things off for a trailer comparison, we have the Earthrise trailer alongside the Armada trailer. And despite them looking, I'd say, roughly the same in terms of length, you know, much like the core Optimus figure, there's no competition as far as mass is concerned, because this trailer is an absolute unit. This thing is well hefty, and you have to bear in mind as well, with Earthrise Prime, it was pretty much a complete hollowed out trailer. So yeah, really no contest there at all. Now, getting stuck into transformation, this is where things are about to get extra spicy. So to kickstart things off with, you're going to want to take this section and just compress it forwards. You'll now want to take the headlights and just gently kind of angle them inwards and then angle them outwards. Now I'll mention that one of the pieces is pinned on, whereas the other is just held on via 2 friction nubs. You know, I kind of wish they were both pinned on because these, at least on my copy, have a tendency to pop off every now and again. It's not a big deal, but I thought just something worth bearing in mind. So just collapse them down. They do click into place, and do the same here for this side. So just snap that in there. We can now take the front grille, disengage it, and then bring this section here all the way down, and these tiny little tabs are going to lock into the underside of this. So just snap that in there, makes such a satisfying click. We can now take the arms, disengage those from the base body, and then just straighten out the elbows on both sides. Now what you'll want to do is take these pieces, and they are on a double hinge joint, so just angle these down and do the same here for this side. Next up, you're going to want to take the wheels, and they are tabbed in, so just untab them, bring this here, and there's a tiny little tab that will actually lock into that slot. So just snap that in there. Do the same here for this side. You'll now want to take kind of the back of the truck and just basically wriggle it away from the skirt pieces. We can then flare these sections here out to the sides, split to the legs, take the shin guards, lift these sections up, flip out the prime toes, and do the exact same here for this side. And that is Armada Optimus Prime fully transformed up into his core robot mode. So, you know what? A pretty straightforward transformation. Nowhere near as intricate as I was expecting. And to be fair, it doesn't really need to be, because I do think this is probably one of the best Armada Primes that we've ever seen. And now as we compare this figure to the original 2002 design, again, you know, such a knockout job. This is such a meaty, chunky boy. And like I said, I never grew up with Armada, but I am loving this new take on Optimus Prime. Or I guess you could say old take, but new to me. Now as we take a look at the details, you know, we get a very cool kind of classic looking Optimus head. Love the paint detail, you know, if it's down it kind of looks like he's sad, and then if you bring it up it looks like he's alert and alive. So alive, sad, alive, sad. I love the chest, you know, in terms of the Matrix chamber, it's got to be one of my favorites of all time because it's kind of multi-layered. So you get this outer piece which looks nuts, and then you can open this section which reveals the main Matrix, which again, you know, very nicely detailed. We get loads of metallic silver. This is removable, but sadly he can't hold it due to him not having articulated fingers, which I think is kind of a letdown, but you know, it is removable. And just for the fun of it, you can also take the Earthrise Prime Matrix, smack that in there, and the chamber still does close with no problem at all. So, you know, you've got a few options, but it's not over because you can take this, pull it down, and look at that. Loads more detail. I love that kind of circular piece that he has in the center. So, yeah, I thought that was sick. Definitely one of my favorite parts about the robot mode design. And then the shoulders, you know, big, thick, chunky, and broad as you'd expect. The stacks do double as his blasters, which look great. And then all the way throughout the figure, you know, very nice. I will say that the skirt piece in the center always has a tendency to kind of splay open, and it's because it's been made out of a slightly more flexible type of plastic. So that's a little bit annoying, you know, no matter how hard you pinch it, you'll see during articulation, it always just splays open. But yeah, the shins all look great, and something I noticed was that if you come around to the back and lift this up, we do get what appears to be the Mini-Con insignia. Now this guy unfortunately doesn't come with any Mini-Cons at all, which, you know, again is a little bit of a shame considering this was a Commander, but are they hinting that they're going to be doing Mini-Cons, or is this just a nice Easter egg? I guess only time will tell, but I like that detail. Now articulation wise, we do get a really nice ball joint here out of the head, you know, look left to right, side to side, etc. Very sturdy, chunky joints here out of the shoulders. I mean, this thing just feels dense. They can also go out to the side. I kind of wish there was a little lip to lock this piece in, because when you're just manipulating this, it kind of likes to flap around, so that can be a little annoying. But we do get a decent bicep rotation, double jointed elbows, wrist rotation. Again, no articulated fingers, kind of sucks for a Commander, and no waist articulation. Now when I first heard this, I was a little bummed out, I'm not going to lie, but you know, seeing how he transforms, these are the super mode shoulders, probably would have been impossible. But we also do kind of win because there is a little bit of ab crunch, which I like. You know, it's just slight, but I'll take it. I'm definitely going to take it. There is also some ratchets which can kick forwards and backwards. Unfortunately, no ratchets going out to the side. For some weird reason, they always keep the outward range on a friction joint. You know, you'll even see that in the super mode. So yeah, that's a little bizarre, but nice thigh rotation. We do get a very sturdy knee joint due to these being the super mode elbows. And then finally, a really nice ankle pivot and a bit of toe articulation due to transformation. So in terms of a few comparisons, We're going to fly through these because there's quite a few I want to show off. So of course, first up, we have Earthrise Optimus Prime. So yeah, pretty decently sized, you know, a lot heftier again than just the standalone Earthrise Prime bot, despite them being roughly eye to eye in terms of height. Here's Legacy Laser Prime, who's compensating for something with those massive shoulders, but yeah, you know, much like Earthrise Prime, pretty much eye to eye in terms of just the heads. Commander Class Rodimus Prime, which is just a tad taller than Armada Prime, but I think, you know, in the grand scheme of things with the trailers and everything, they're probably about the same. Studio Series 86 Voyager Ironhide, the Legacy Armada Voyager Starscream, Deluxe Class Hotshot, and much like Vehicle Mode, these guys look great together. And finally, just for fun, here we have him next to the Siege Galaxy Upgrade Optimus Prime. So yeah, kind of crazy that we're seeing more of these Unicron Trilogy characters in the main line. You know, like I said, with every single wave, it just seems like they're beginning to become bolder and bolder in their character selection. So yeah, it really does make you wonder who we could be left with this time next year. Now, I know you guys are all probably wondering, where is Optimus's blaster? Where's his firepower? Where's the base mode? Well, we're going to get stuck straight into that now. So, first up, if you haven't done so already, you're going to want to kind of flip these kickstand pieces outwards. We can then take the treads and separate this here from the main bulk of the trailer. These two tabs do lock into what will become the super mode knees, so just remove those. We can then take these pieces, which have the Autobot logos on them, and detach them, and then detach this piece. Come around here to this side and do the same, so lift all of that up. Now we'll come to the front of the trailer, and what I like to do is flip these pieces up just so we can kind of see what's going on, and you're going to want to detach these big blue chunks away from this kind of missile piece. So just detach them like that, and do the same here for this side. Now, 9 times out of 10, this thing always wants to pop off. It's very loosely held into that circular port. It's a little bigger than, you know, your average MechTech port, so I'm not sure if the tolerances are meant to be this off, but basically just set it off to the side because it's probably going to come off anyway. Now, what you're going to want to do is bring this section here all the way up and do the same here for this side. We can now take this back piece, pull this piece back, take these sections here, flip those forwards, and then take this section, rotate this here all the way around, and there are two tabs here and here which are going to lock into these two slots. So utilize these double hinge joints and snap those there into place. What we can now do is bring this down, fold this panel flush, and then this tab here is going to slide into this slot. So make sure that's locked in. Do the same here for this side. So collapse that down, lift this up, and then snap this section in, and that's basically the base mode. Now, to be fair, I mean, if you wanted to, you could bring these pieces down. I think they look a little better being risen, and you can also flip these sections here out, which again, I also think looks a little cool. So in some ways, I'm kind of taking creative license here with that, but then what you're going to want to do is bring back in this piece, which has Prime's main blaster attached to it. So detach that section, and then you're just going to want to snap that section there into place, come to the back of the base mode, reattach it into the same port that we saw for the trailer mode, just lift this piece up, and it kind of acts as a sentry turret, and that is basically the base mode. Now, like I said, I'm probably taking a bit of creative license with this, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Probably a little too small with the Armada Prime. I mean, if we compare it alongside Deluxe Hotshot, yeah, I don't think it's going to quite work out with some of these figures, but it doesn't look too bad with the likes of Core Class. So here we have Ironhide. Here is the Core Class Grimlock, and it also doesn't look too bad with some of the smaller Micromasters, who I'm hoping are eventually going to become maybe our Minicons, because this is perfect scale for some Minicons. I mean, why Hasbro can't just basically take what they had from Earthrise / Siege and expand upon that to make these Minicons? It is a little beyond me, but yeah, not too bad, I guess. And then transforming this from base into the super mode configuration is, to be fair, again, quite straightforward. So to kickstart things off with, you're going to want to take this section, rotate it here like that until it clicks into place. We can now take this piece, lift this section out just like this. Again, I'd recommend just to detach this because 9 times out of 10 it's going to fall off. We can then bring this section down, flip these pieces outwards, take the skirt piece and detach it, and lift it upwards just like that. Now what you're going to want to do is detach these pieces here away from those sections and do the same here for this side. We can then bring all of this down, take these sections, bring those up, and these become heel spurs, so we'll flare them to the back. You'll then want to kind of according this in. It is on a double hinge joint, so lock that there into place, and then this section is going to snap into the knee, and then this piece is going to come down and snap into place. So do the same here for this side. Flip up the foot, take the heel spur, bring this back, and then just arch all of this in, until it clicks in. Snap that section in, bring this section down. Again, snap that into place, and rotating the camera up because this is becoming a big boy, you'll then want to rotate here at the waist, just like that. We can then take the skirt piece, pull this section down, pull these pieces down, and then for some finishing touches, just come back to this piece, extend this out, snap it back into place, and these two tabs here and here are going to lock into those circular ports. So just collapse this here in upon itself until they lock in, and then just push this section down, and that is the trailer ready for Optimus. Which, talking of, here he is, but first up I want to very quickly talk about the blaster. So very nicely detailed, unfortunately no paint, and to be fair it looks pretty much identical to the original 2002 version. It is blast effect compatible, and the same can also be said for the double barreled stacks. And another thing I wanted to showcase was the Armada Starscream Star Saber with Optimus, and I mean it looks okay. Unfortunately, I just always thought this Star Saber was way too small. Probably better to scale with Deluxe Hotshot, but who knows, maybe Armada Megatron will come with a slightly more impressive one. I guess only time's going to tell. But getting stuck into transformation, you guys know what area I have to begin with first. Much like in the animation, the super mode hands kind of burst out of the feet of the robot, which always looked nuts, and it looks even nuttier here for the figure. So take the shin piece, lift that up, and then fold the toes in. We can then bring this around, take that, snap this piece into place, then come around to the back, and I thought this was really cool. So we have this massive hollow gap, but if you bend the toe backwards, it fills that out perfectly. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Do the same here for this side. So lift this section up, snap the toe into place, rotate this section around, snap this piece back down, and then fold this up. And look at that, you got Prime kind of converting into the super mode, which looks absolutely crazy. But next up, you're then going to want to make sure the head is straightened out, and take the shoulders and lift these up much like you would if you were going from robot back into vehicle. So do the same here. We can then take this whole chest piece, detach it away from these tabs, and just hinge it upwards just like this. So we should be left with something along the lines of that. Now what you're going to want to do is split this piece here. The shoulders will then come down, and what I'd recommend to do would be to ratchet these pieces all the way out. We can now take the super mode head, things are getting really exciting, and make sure that it does snap into place. You'll then want to take these pieces and just flare them out to the sides, much like we saw from the animation. Bring the biceps down and do the same here for this side. And then as we come to the bot mode arms, you're going to want to rotate these here and basically collapse these in on the double hinge joint. Now what we can do is straighten that out, and this tab is going to peg into that slot. So just hinge this here all the way up until that snaps into place. Do the exact same here for this side. So just hinge that up until it clicks in, come back around and take these pieces and make sure that you hinge them in on those double joints, just like that. And that is Optimus in his super mode, ready to be merged with the trailer. So now we have both pieces. The next thing you're going to want to do is take this section, just pull it forwards, and the next step, I'm not going to lie, the first time especially, is quite tricky to get the hang of. So the front part, the grille of the truck mode, is going to slide into this hollow gap, and it kind of has to go in a certain way. So you're going to want to push this piece in first, and then it should just scoot all the way in like that. We can then take this piece, it will latch over the top of the shoulders, and then what's going to happen is that you're going to pinch these spring-loaded pieces so that this goes in the center, and then bring this down and basically snap that into place so that both of them do release, and then this piece will just sit flush. And there is the Armada Optimus Prime, fully transformed, or combined I should say, into his super mode. And I mean, if the core robot and the truck wasn't cool enough, this thing is just so awesome. I think this is definitely how I'm going to be displaying him. At first I wasn't too sure, but this super mode is just so badass. And if you thought there were some Easter eggs in the robot and truck mode, wait until we check some of them out here for the super mode. So first up, there we have the face sculpt. For some strange reason, they decided not to paint the eyes red. I have no idea why. It's a bit of a bizarre choice, but it looks great, and I imagine would be a pretty easy fix. So yeah, that is such a nicely done looking head. Now the Autobot logo is removable, which at least to me kind of makes me think that maybe there's a possibility that not only we could be seeing an Overload, but potentially a Jetfire in the future. I mean, the engineering of Core Prime being detached from this is already there, so all they've got to do is engineer that Jetfire around this, and it is possible. So yeah, overall this thing just looks sick. I love the gold paint that we have for the hands, as we come down here to the lower piece of the figure. I think that all looks great. And then as we come around to the back, I think it stacks up pretty nicely. You know, to be fair, it's way cleaner than the original 2002 toy, which you'd expect. So yeah, not too many problems at all. Now, articulation-wise, I was surprised that this is more articulated than the core robot. You know, 9 times out of 10, the combined form is always a little compromised, but no. So this guy actually has a ball joint, which, you know, straight away I wasn't expecting, because with Menaceful, it was just a swivel. It was super restrictive. This thing is wicked. So yeah, really expressive. We get some very nice clicky joints going forwards and backwards. You not only get this shoulder joint, but also the transformation joint. So yeah, great posability there. We get a bicep swivel. We get the knees from the bot mode, which this time are of course the elbow joints. There's a bit of wrist swivel, and we do get opening and closing fingers. Now, my biggest qualm with this is that this guy's a commander, and unlike the Star Saber or the Siege Jetfire, the port doesn't automatically recess in, and I definitely think that's something they could have done, because that does look a little strange, I'm not going to lie. I don't really know why they didn't make it so that it worked in the same way as some of those past figures. If you guys know, please let me know down below, but yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. And then as far as the skirt piece is concerned, these can all hinge out of the way to allow for an actual waist joint, you know, something which the core robot lacked in, and we get some of the best ratchet joints I've seen on a modern Transformer here, going forwards and backwards out of the hips. So that is so cool. But much like the core robot, no ratchet joints out to the sides. I have no idea why. So puzzling. But we get a bit of thigh rotation. There's also a very heavy duty ratchet which can bend to 90 here at the knee, and then finally a really deep ankle pivot, meaning that this guy can probably pull off some better poses than the smaller, almost Voyager sized Prime. So very much so impressed with this guy. And then in terms of accessories, of course, we get the same blaster from the robot mode, but it looks pretty sick here for the super mode. Now, as we take a look at a few comparisons here, this guy is a commander, so as you would expect, towers over Earthrise Prime as well as the Laser Optimus. Here's the Legacy Armada Hotshot and Starscream, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the show he used this part of his super mode to kind of launch at Megatron to take him out. So once we get Armada Megatron, gonna have to recreate that in some of the opening shots, but yeah, as you can see, definitely a big boy. Here we have the Transformers Siege Cybertron Universe Optimus Prime, and this is quite a cool one. So we have the Commander Armada Prime alongside the original Commander, that being the Siege Jetfire mold. So here's a little smaller, but there's a lot more engineering that is packed into this guy when compared to Jetfire, because Jetfire was just the robot and then the jet, whereas this is like the trailer, the core Optimus robot, the truck, the base mode, and then the super mode. So I think overall, you know, it averages out to be about the same, and there is a lot of plastic that is packed into this Armada Prime. So yeah, you know, I definitely don't think we're being shortchanged, despite him looking a little more smaller than the original Commander. And wrapping up on this review for the Legacy Evolution Armada Optimus Prime, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. You know, like I said at the beginning of the video, this guy has been a long time coming, but I think has delivered on pretty much all fronts. Solid truck and trailer mode, great transformation, simplistic, effective, awesome robot mode. It's a shame they couldn't pack a waist joint and articulated fingers in, but I imagine there was a reason behind it. Transformation into super mode, again, simple and effective. The base mode I'm not the biggest fan of, I'm not going to lie, but I've never really liked base forms, but when you combine the trailer with Optimus to form the super mode, wow, I wasn't expecting it to be better than the core Prime robot, because the articulation is actually better. You know, 9 times out of 10 with combiners, which this essentially is, there's always limitations, but this has waist articulation, opening fingers for better or for worse. I kind of wish they could have recessed the port in, much like Siege Jetfire, but this is a really good figure, but it's what you would expect for one of Hasbro's most expensive scale classes. I mean, this guy is a commander. This thing's going to retail for about £100, £110, so you do expect quality, and I do think you get that here with this figure. I'd love to know your thoughts down in the comment section below. To me, this guy is kind of a massive Easter egg, as he gives us teases to maybe an upcoming Armada Overload or maybe a Jetfire. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below of the figure and a few of those possibilities, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.